Okay, we have stream working. I believe. I need to fix the YouTube stream. Hi, VOD people. I hope you're having a good day. I have been trying to figure out why I can't stream for a hot minute, and I find a minor solution. I'm not currently doing. Hi, Billy Bob. I'm not currently doing background music, so a setting I have I don't need, and changing that off allowed me to do it. So I'm gonna do it. Okay, start stream. Start YouTube stream. Yes, yes. New stream. I have to apparently make a new one for YouTube. Or is it just connected? Are we just fine, YouTube? Not connected right now. Okay, lovely. Lovely, lovely. But it is connected, but it isn't connected. It's fun. I don't know what's happening. I don't know what's going on ever. Hello, thank you. Thank you for the happy birthdays. Hello, hello. Hi, hi, hi. A YouTube stream is not working. YouTube stream just ain't working. I'm not gonna bother with it. It's been annoying the hell out of me. I'm not gonna bother with it. We don't usually even have people in the YouTube stream. I'm not gonna bother. We're just gonna hang out and enjoy. And I'm gonna drink my water because I've been losing my mind for hospital time. I'm gonna drink my water because I've been dealing with the stupid YouTube encoder whatever thing for a hot minute. So I'm not gonna bother with that. We're just gonna hang out and enjoy. We're gonna hang out and have fun. I'm gonna move us over to the gameplays. The gameplays. There we go. I've done work. I've done work since last time. Oh, I need to put this back. Yeah, right. Okay, hold on. I have things turned around and changed around for streaming so it runs a little bit better. I managed to stab myself. Okay, to be fair, that's actually pretty easy. I know a fair amount of people that do that. I've been having lots of fun and problems with the iron farm. The storage room. Look at my beautiful library. It's finally done. I did it. We're no longer working out of a chest monster. And it's all gorgeous. It looks way better when I actually have like shaders and resource pack on and I'm not running this like a potato for stream to work. And for my words. For my VTuber to work. So I have screenshot. I have screenshot. This is wrong screenshot. This is not screenshot I need. I have this. Well, this works. There we go. It's what it looks like when I actually have shaders and everything on. And I'm so happy about it. But I'm running out of food. This is literally my last stack of fried rice. And we're not doing the greenhouse next week. We have XP farm next week. Which is gonna be right down there. So I have a bunch of fried eggs. We have a whole bunch of them. A whole bunch. And what you can make with fried eggs... Egg. Where? Egg. You can make an egg sandwich out of that, and I need bread for that. So we're gonna just go loot. We're gonna go loot. Oh wait, important thing. Hello, Wolfie. Hi. Important things. I got another animal. Her name is Celeste. She's adorable. I found her in the plains. And we're actually gonna go out to these plains too. I found her way out east. But it's a lot of work. I have the whole library thing. The basement's pretty much done. I did not even see you streaming because I followed your Twitch. Was weird. I don't know. It's being silly. Stream was being silly getting started. I had 2 hours of sleep last night and one stress nap earlier, so I'm a little loopy. Oh no! It's been a minute since I've had any sleep deprivation. I'm very happy to be privileged enough to actually just be able to get a good 8 hours. You showed me that you're still expanding it. Yeah! It's pretty much done. It's mostly just the XP farm that I want in the basement anymore. Otherwise, everything's gonna be above ground. There's still like minor basement attachments that I want, but otherwise it's still gonna be continued to expand, but purely for the XP farm and for access to it. If I expand later, it's not something that's currently planned. And we do have an official date for finding the end. It's gonna be the 17th, which is gonna be oh so fun for me because my birthday is tomorrow. And then also, wait, oh, you're not a what? Is this literally it for this village? No, there is more of the village, but this kind of village doesn't have hay bales, which is what I need. So I'm gonna be celebrating good old 21 tomorrow, which is why I'm not streaming tomorrow. I'm gonna be doing other stuff, and also gonna be doing a party game night thing with Mom and her friends on Saturday. So I'm gonna see how well I can do and actually get up get up on time for doing the end in the morning the day after. So that's gonna be very, very interesting. I have no idea how that's gonna go. I have no idea if I'm going the right direction. Yes, I am. This plane's out this way, and it's nighttime. I now need to find and get you a couple of Minecraft presents when you come back in the Passion SMP. When you come back, I'm on Passion SMP. I'm gonna be, to be fair, I'm not gonna be on for most of the week. I'm usually on a lot more than I'm gonna be this week, because I'm gonna be busy for the next couple days. I'm gonna try and still get on, like, weeknights, probably. Depends on what goes, how goes. I'm definitely gonna be back on Wednesday, though. A Wednesday night. Headed off to bed officially. Okay, bye-bye, Bookish. Thanks for hanging out. Where did I put Stinky's over here? And there's hay bales over here. Are they mostly been looted? I was hoping there were a few more hay bales, because I kind of need the food. I would like to have food. What is that? That's tomatoes. It's tomatoes. Okay, yes, there we go. I knew there were villages out here that have not been raided yet. I've been doing a lot of raiding. This video that's going up tomorrow, I got so distracted. I literally said at the beginning of it, like, oh, if I get distracted, just comment that I'm getting distracted. I'll feel it beyond the realm. It's fine. I in fact did not feel it. I did not. Truth be told, I did not. I got so distracted so many times. Oh, there's Eddie. There's Wolfie. Oh, there's also a village this way we could go to. Up. Boop. We could go right over here. And I need my water available. Also, nice thing, I was talking with my brother. One of my brothers just got me a nice AC. I'm just slowly acquiring bread so I have stable food. I have eggs, I have food, I just don't have good food. I have shit food. I'm getting food. I was talking with my brothers, and my brother got me a nice fan. It's actually running in the background. Surprisingly, it's been nice and pretty quiet. My mom's been calling it like a swamp cooler. Yes. No, swamp heater, I think is what she's been calling it, not swamp cooler. It might be a swamp cooler. I can't remember the word she was using. But it runs off of water, and it came with ice packs to put in the little water tank. Or, not water tank, it's a water tub, if anything. Why am I stopping here? I don't see any hay bales. I don't know why I wanted to look in that chest. I know the chest doesn't have anything for me. I know it does not. Tired. I'm planning on just going as long as I can for the stream, honestly. I have no set time. I have finally moved around my schedule. So I have, like, nothing to do after stream. I just write down stuff in my planner real quick, plan out the next day, which I already have mostly done. I don't want a bundle. I already have a lot of bundles. What is this room? Oh, it's a observatory. Okay, yeah. Yeah, you right. You right. When you right, you right. But I have moved around my schedule so much, and I am very pleased about it, because at this point I'm doing most of my me time stuff, read, language lessons, a little bit of exercise, in the morning, and it's been made my nights a lot easier, and I'm now not missing it so much. Oh no, Stitches. 07, best of luck, Billy Bob. What is going on around here? I just want hay bales. That's all I want. But I don't think I'm gonna get it out of the mod. Oh, wait, hold on. I'm a liar. I'm a liar. Where? Which area is here? This is where we need to go. There's hay bales in here. I know there's hay bales in here. I know there's a bunch of hay bales? No? I mean, I'll take diamond and golden apple. Never mind. Hay bales! Never mind, I'm wrong. I'm wrong. I'm double wrong. I was wrong about being wrong. Oh. That just got ruined. What other places? Oh. What? Oh, you. No. Goodbye. Goodbye. No. No thank you. No thank you. Which way shall we go? I'm thinking we are gonna pass the village we just went to and go all the way up over here to the Snowy Plains village I used to go to a lot when I was at the other base. Because I'm damn certain, unless somebody else has been there, I'm damn certain that it should be basically, there should be a bunch of hay bales there. That's what I'm trying to get at. But yeah, I've been freeing up my schedule a lot. Problem is, I've also been struggling here and there. This week's video, I had to stop and pick up so many times. Because the week before, the Iron Farm, I actually finished that video early, so I was able to get a head start on the library, which was fantastic for me, but then I had to drop it so I could do amalgamation, and then I could pick it up. And then there were moments where I was like hanging out on people's streams or doing this and that, and like I can't really record right now, I'm just gonna try and get some stuff done. And I realized, oh, I have to completely move everything I built again. And that happened like 3 separate times. I had to move, hi X! I had to move the balcony 3 different times, I think. I know it was at least, it might have been 4. I know it was at least 3 times I had to move that thing. The first time I moved it around and added an extension to it. I added spruce planks or spruce slabs along the edge because I didn't like the edging of it, and then I moved all the rails, and that made me move the stairs, and then I had to move the front part, the little arch in the front, which was so much fun. Where am I? I'm over here now. That was a village I haven't gone to before. Should have gone and checked that out. Is there anything here? Are you pumpkins or are you hay bales? You look like you'd be hay bales, but are you pumpkins, and have you already been looted? These are all questions that seemingly are answered. It's none of the above. Those pumpkins are random. Which way go? This way go. Skeleton horses don't drown, I don't think. I'm pretty sure. I feel like they don't. Yeah. Skeleton horses, iron golems, they don't drown. They just exist. They just happy boys. They just vibe. Zombies will drown. Skeleton have nothing to drown. They just sit there in the water. And perhaps get some barnacles, but that's about it. Go through. I was called shrubland, not marsh. I wanted to call it a marsh. That's a topic I was on, and I have completely... The balcony! After that, I ended up... I started doing pillars and excavating everything else, and I wanted to do 5x5 pillars. Everything I've done before was... like 3x3 pillars. And so I had to move around... rabbit? Okay, rabbit. I had to move all around all of that. And then after doing the pillars, I realized, oh no... The ceiling's too short. I can't go up with the ceiling I made. I have to move the floor I just made and the balcony again. So yeah, I think that is 3 times then. I was right the first time. It was 3. And there should be plenty of bread at the very least now to get us going. I'm sure I could find more. Yeah. Whole bunch of bread here. I remember noting that for later. Ooh, even more, even more, even more. Whole bunch of bread. Fantastic. I need to remember this specific village. I have a feeling this is probably... Is it a Towns? It's probably a Townsend Towers. It seems like it'd be a Townsend Towers. I don't think it's a repurposed structure. It might be repurposed structure. It seems like a Townsend Towers. Oh, this is a cute house. Adorable. I'm gonna steal all but where the chest is sitting. Excuse me. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Yoink all of this. Pour moi. I need the food. Thank you. Hey, boop. Why is there an allay? I don't know why there's a lay out here, but there's an allay. Is there any other hay bales for me? I don't know. We're gonna find out. There's a pack of dogs. Yes! Plenty of hay bales. Plenty, plenty, plenty. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Wonderful. All the food. All the food. This is more than enough. I'm so happy I spent the time to make all the frickin' fried eggs too. Because you have to slowly wait for those guys. It occurs to me just now, I probably could have just thrown them in a furnace and got the same results. I was doing them in the skillet. So maybe that wasn't the wisest choice. Ooh, graveyard? Where are... Yeah, that's a graveyard! Me, Lilac, and Axe looted it first day, I think? It was? I'm pretty sure it was first day. If I remember my recordings correctly. Because we did the Deep Dark after that, I think. Let me out. 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 Be through here. I need to keep an eye out. There's a mod I was looking at for when we do the mod update. We're going to do it the 16th, so I'm going to do it that morning. And make sure that's all fine and dandy. There will not be a stream the 16th, so the next stream's going to be next Sunday on the 17th. So it's going to be a minute. Also, Wolfie, I am heading back to my base if you were trying to head towards me. Why do I am losing my goddamn mind. Because every now and again, I'll get a blip, like there's a chat notification. There we go. Let me out, this is not a dance. I'm begging for help, I'm screaming for help, this is not a dance. Yeah, good song. Oh, I'm loving wait, did she leave? I brought snow leopards to Lilac, are they still? Yes, they're still here! Sea turtle on a tree? Yeah! This is... I don't know what you're doing. I don't know how you're doing that. This is Hasai and Nolai. I believe Nolai is... Excuse. I'm trying to show off the very cute snow leopards that I left for Lilac. Also, I got a hilarious screenshot from Lilac a couple hours after I did this. Apparently, I did this in the perfect spot where she logged off. So I got a screenshot of her stuck in there. But you can walk out, thankfully. I made sure to make it like that so you could walk in and out and just grab them. And I'm gonna leave before that guy tries to joust me. We just gonna head right on along. And we just gonna vibe. And I'm gonna yawn a lot, because apparently I'm tired. Blah blah blah. Fun stuff. All the fun stuff. It's been a busy ass week. Because I had to finish up Amalgamation. I thought it was going to be a shorter video for that. It was not. I ended up just doing everything. Instead of oh, I'm just going to do a couple short videos. But I'm like, this is nothing. We did nothing. I'm just going to go do other stuff. I'm gonna enjoy the power I hold. Because, hi baby child. Goodbye. Because one of the last things I did was make an Enderman farm. And do I have a crafting table in here? No, of course I don't. I know for a fact I have a bunch of crafting tables. In here, I made sure I do. Cobwebs. I made certain of that. Oh, almost. There we go. And bread. All the bread. Pretty, please. Thank you. Thank you. And I'll leave a little bit of wheat for this thing, that thing. Where put wheat? Probably here. Okay, we got 8 stacks of bread, which should do for most of this. And should let me turn a majority of these. Fantastic. We have a bunch of egg sandwiches. Bip, 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 bip. There we go. It's not as good as my fried rice, but it is... I found a village, I'm gonna raid it. Alright. I'm pretty sure I rated that one for everything but its chest, but... Why is my painting gone? I didn't even realize. Give me string. Make into wool. Stick. 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 All the stick. Stick. Painting. Yes. Where is gonna go over here? Yeah. Probably. Sure. Why not? Probably, perhaps, why not? Boop. Boop? Yes? That's a cool one. I haven't seen that yet, but that's not what I want. That's very cute. Classic. Adorable. We've just seen that. Cool. No. That's cute, but no. Wait, no. I want a specific... Did I get rid of it when I did this? I swear it was a 2x2 though. It was a very specific one. That wasn't any of these. Can I? No, of course I can't. I want a very specific painting. No, it's not you. You're very cute though. No. No. No, there was a orange one. That's adorable. No. 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 There was an orange one. There was an orange landscape. I loved it. Where? Why? What? That's really cool, but no. No. There's a nice that's adorable. There's a nice landscape. No. Oh my, no. There has to be a better way to do this, right? Cause it's not something I can... I just want a specific painting. No. No, that's cool too, but no. How do I can I craft this? How? Uses. Paint. Painting. Uses. It will only show the 4x4 paintings. Yeah, I want a 4x4. It is a 4x4. But I want a specific one. I know it's a 4x4. We haven't changed any mods. We haven't removed anything. There's no reason why it shouldn't show me it. It was a 4x4. There was a specific one. No, that's still not that. Because the problem is it's pure chance when it gets placed. No. 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 It's not forest. I have a feeling it's a macaw's then. Box view? No. Good judge me when God. This one! This one! This is the one I was trying to get. Because it's perfect for this area. I adore it. It's so cool. It's so pretty. They just need to make a better way. I know there's a mod out there. Gonna have to add it in the update. I know there's a mod. Hopefully for this version. that you can put a painting in a stone cutter and you can get a specific version of the painting in survival. Because you can do that in creative, but they won't let you do it in survival for some reason, and I despise it. And what I was hoping could be a function is beautify when you're trying to update. We're doing it the 16th. With this, if I don't have any... Wait, could I have done... No. With this, if I shift right click, it will flip through the different painting options for beautify. Nope. Go back. Back. Go to that one. Which I was unfortunate enough to learn. You can also do the exact same thing with the books. So I didn't have... there's a long time where I was slowly flipping through and breaking them instead of just clicking on them. I really could have just clicked on them the entire time. I really could have, but I didn't. Also, I don't know why everybody is so fascinated by my red sheep. Because I've been using, as you can tell from this room, a lot of red wool and red wool products. Every time somebody came to my base, what's with the sheep? Why do you have a bunch of red sheep? I need red wool. It's just a sheep. I dyed some sheep. It's been a function in the game for ages. I just got some... I need red wool. It's way more cheaper. I don't have to use red wool a bunch if I dye the sheep directly. They're just red sheep. This isn't a horror movie. This is House Flipper. This ain't horror. That's House Flipper. I just need red wool. It's not that interesting. If I see purple sheep at somebody's house, I'm gonna go, oh, they need purple wool. It's just a sheep. I grabbed a bunch of wild sheep and I dyed them red and I put them in an area. Also, we're not doing the winery thing anymore. Winery bulk storage, of course you are. And you suck. Because I'm doing bulk storage. I'm just doing general storage instead of having a bunch of different storage. So I like the idea of maybe turning this into a stable somehow. I have no idea how we're gonna do that. What we're gonna do basically for the rest of the stream is I just want to start planning out stuff. Not really super building stuff, but planning out excavating things and ideas that I could possibly have, perhaps. That is the general gist. My brain's immediately going with an idea for upstairs. I want to grab a bunch of stone for this. Stone. Okay, wait, take from here. I'm gonna drop off. I know the bushes look horrible. Kind of sucks, but I need them to be like this, otherwise the stream hates me. And then oak in here. And, boop. Boop, boop. We're gonna go right on upstairs, because I have some ideas. We're not gonna get to the second floor, or the main floor, for quite a bit. But I do have immediately an idea I would like to execute. Oh, I should mention the tube. I've been getting annoyed by the iron golems not being in the spot they're supposed to be in some... I don't know how they're getting on this railing. There's no possible way they should be getting on this railing, but they're getting on the railing. So I think I need to just cut my losses, make this an even deeper pit, and make it go down more, make it a 5x5 pit. And move around the storage for the farm yet again. Because the glass tube definitely helps, but it's still not 100%. It's cut down the issues with the iron golems at least by a good, like, 75%. But I still occasionally get a guy there, and I still have the problem of them landing down here, and I don't know how they're landing down here, because there's no way for them to. They're floating in midair, and I don't know how. I don't know when's occurring with that, but something is. It's a bunch of fun. It's a bunch of fun. Can you tell I'm tired yet? I have been go, go, go all day. The next several days are my break. From go, go, go all week. Genuinely. Let me mark off some things on my little planner. There we go. It's been a lot of do. And not enough dough. Not enough go with the flow. This has ended up coming out quite a bit more than I'd expect it to, and I'm wondering, I'm trying to think about how we're gonna approach that later. That's an interesting thought. Oh god, I love the yawns. I am just tired, tired, tired. I really wanted to try and do stream actually this afternoon. But that did not end up in my cards because I was still decorating and trying to get things done, and then I still had to edit. I do have the video up and uploaded. It's scheduled. It's ready to go. It's going to be auto-posted tomorrow because I will probably not be home when it is auto-posted. Ooh, sea otter. Nice. I know Lilac's going to try and do... I think her house is basically going to be a zoo from what I was hearing. I know she has a lot of plans with that. I think one of them was trying to... gonna be sea otters. I don't remember. I'm gonna have to find a creative way to cover this. Or move this forward, but I like the idea of covering it better. Kind of. I know, or not the zoo's not the correct word. Not containment. It's not containment. Not enclosure. Sanctuary, yes, thank you. She was gonna have a sanctuary for all the animals. I'm trying to think, I'm trying to brain, but brain not braining. I can't think of a solution for this right now, so I'm gonna backpedal from that. I'm thinking a hallway through here to connect to whatever I do back over here. And either have it have windows or have it connect to... How big do I want this later on? I know I'm gonna do at least a 3-wide door. Could do 3x3. Continue my 3s. Or I could do what's going on downstairs and do 5 wide so I can have my 3 in between or 5 in between columns. That's probably gonna match up better, yeah. Otherwise, I'm gonna not like it later, and it's gonna annoy me. Here we go. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, boop. I'd like if I could put the doorway here. It's probably gonna end up right here. I could just have this be a little side hall. Nothing's stopping me from making a little side hall here. Side hall that then connects off to other stuff. Do a side hall into a side hall. That's probably what's gonna look best. No. I think I can make this work. I can make this work. And I don't know what's going on over here right now. I still really like the idea of doing this curve stuff. I have a feeling then I'm gonna have to do this. Or rooms here. I do plan on just doing a bunch of villager rooms at this point and making my castle for villagers. As well as myself, but mostly just as a house for villagers and just have all the villagers free roam. It's going to be the most humane trading center Minecraft has ever had. Because they're just going to be free roam. The only catch is that I have 3 of them up there that make me iron golems, possibly 6. I do want to do another layer of this. I don't know how this tower is going to end up. This will eventually be a tower. I don't know how this is going to end up right now, but right now it is my iron farm. I could go backtrack and end up making what I made in PSMP Season 2 where they were underground and do that system again. Because I could absolutely do that and then solve some of the issues I have here, and then I'd have a lot more leeway with this tower. Yes, I'm at my base. Place. I don't know what all... I think minimum... Yeah, I'm just gonna be here, so no worries. I ain't going anytime soon. I want this to be a minimum of at least 3 long. Hello, Pumpkin. How are you? We do a birthday stream. I can do this 2 more. I'm thinking of just doing it 3 and then have a grand room back here. Something like that. I have no further plans for this right now, though. I have a feeling it's gonna end up being this is jutted in and this is jutted out. That's probably what's gonna occur here, and then I'll do a bunch of bedrooms over here. I still don't know what I'm gonna do with this room. I have not a clue. There's not a thought in my brain of what to do in here. Because this is mostly just a transitional room right now. This is more of a hallway than anything. Because I did like the idea of stables, and then I could dig down a little bit and connect to this. But that doesn't quite... Can I still make that work? I'm doing pretty good. I'm stressing and thinking I packed too much, but also not enough time at the same time. I packed the perfect amount, except my socks, I overpacked those. Oh no! Sounds about right. It's almost nighttime. Sleep. Sleepy, sleep. Sleepy, sleepy. Boop. I think I can make a stable work. I think I can. The chat? There it goes. It's just being lag. I packed that many to torment the person I'm going to. No shit, really? But we'll do this. Because what my brain is currently going with is I could extend these another 3. Do you need help? I made a little barn out of spruce wood. No, thank you. I like doing stuff on my own. I think I came up with this explanation the other day. I feel like this is the perfect time to like info dump this idea I have in my brain. I am a person who likes doing things by myself with other people. I don't know how many people that's going to make sense to, but that makes perfect sense in my brain. I like doing stuff in the company of other people and hanging out with other people while I do stuff, but while I'm doing my thing, I like doing my thing. Yeah, I can make this line up. I can make this line up perfectly. So we'll do supports here. 1, 2, 3. And then boop. Yeah, like this. Ooh, stream lag. Body double. Yeah, I'm purely a body double person. Ironically, I do have trouble working when body doubling. But I like doing things by myself around other people. Or just by myself. Because I've always struggled with teamwork. I am rarely a teamwork person. I can do small collaborations, but usually it's me overseeing a project and getting consulting with the other person on said project for them. But I rarely do more than that. You legit just described body doubling. Yeah. That's fair. I probably should have seen that one.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Oh, there you are.
Hi, I'm here. Hold on, here you go.
Hello.
I can't tell if your birthday's like either tomorrow or yesterday, but you're happy early
This
birthday.
is tomorrow.
Oh,
Thank
okay, happy early
you.
birthday, Jen. I also don't know if you need map, but I found 7 map.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. What you doing?
We're just plotting out stuff. Plotting out ideas.
Oh, nice.
So I don't have to deal with it later, and I can just start going bam, bam, bam. I want this thing. We're gonna work on this thing today.
Okay.
Stables is a big thing. I think this is gonna be
Yeah.
personal stables, and then I'll have a different stable for the horses I want to sell.
Yeah.
Idea, we extend this room out and make it open. I need to excavate away this area. I was gonna try and keep these sweet berries for as long as I could. They stuck around for a month. It's time to go.
Yeah. Bye. Happy.
Bye-bye.
Have a good birthday.
Thank
Have a
you.
good birthday. Yeah.
Have a good
That's
day.
a command, but there's a pat. Yeah, it works.
But oh, was it?
Yeah.
I got covered by another keybind.
Oh no.
I don't want your socials interaction screen. I want a bonk. I don't have my bonk keybind. Give me bonk, Pat.
Oh,
It
no,
is
it's not
Pat,
the
Pete.
chef?
Why is it? What?
What?
What
It's
is that? What else
Bayfield?
is P? Toggle lost
that's
focus
weird.
pause. What is that? What is that?
Oh, you might have had what I had the issue with, the map thing.
Toggle lost focus.
That's weird.
Debug. But that's a debug. It should be if. Okay, get rid of that. I guess. I just
And do you think some of the
Offhand?
controls
offhand.
changed?
Offhand. It was an offhand.
Okay, yeah. Do you think some of the chat things, the controls changed?
Oh, I had to change around my. I can't remember why. I had to delete my op. It was Flashback was being a
Yeah.
butthead. Flashback was being
Yeah,
a
I
butthead,
think
and I was
that was
at my
it.
wit's end, so I deleted my options file, and I had to redo a bunch of my keybinds. And I did redo that one, but apparently it was just. I think it wasn't even that it was the toggle. I fully think because I can't. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I can't pat you right now, but if I have a free empty hand,
Yeah.
now I can pat you. So I think it's just free empty
Nice.
hand.
That's weird.
Kind of makes sense. Because if you walk up to a dog, that's how it is.
Yeah.
Beep, boop, 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 boop. Give. This cobblestone is still temporary, by the way.
Yep.
This cobblestone is very much temporary.
go.
Thank you,
I don't know
Nightbot.
if you have a. I don't know if you have a bucket.
I
with
have
you,
2
though.
water buckets.
Oh, you do?
Yeah,
Oh,
I
do
always
too.
have 2 water buckets on me.
Oh, nice.
I am the overprepared person. I always have a bunch on me.
This. I don't know when I got this. I don't even know I got this. Here you go. I
Bone
don't even know
meal.
where I got that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I did not have any bone on me, so I don't know where I got that. Weird.
If you kill fish, they can drop bone meal.
No, I did not kill any fish. So that's just so weird.
You have
reason
random
I
mystical
got-
bone meal then. Time to make a shrine to the bone meal.
Maybe.
But
That's what I
nope,
should do,
that's bad depth
actually.
perception. My glasses were supposed to show up. My glasses were supposed to show up. They're supposed to show up today. They did not. Any updates on my glasses? Any updates? Any update? No, no update. Of course not. I can't wait to have just normal depth perception. It'd be so great to have, but I do not. How am I gonna get this down another 2 blocks without it looking weird? That is the question. I could also make this room in general higher. That is another option. I could do a block higher, which would make it easier on me. It would make this door significantly more difficult, but if I'm already planning on moving the iron farm, that's not too much of a hassle. Because right now, we have it literally at this height. I wouldn't want it to be at least this height, which is a block lower, which would look a little funky. I kind of like how it is right now. Thoughts to be had. They are not in my brain. I can tell you that much. Uh-oh. Oh yeah, I still haven't lit up that passage. I still have not done that. Oh Mew, when you get a sec, check your messages. That you literally sounded like the intro of Call Me Littles. of Call Me Little Sunshine? I haven't heard that one. Let me check. Yes. Yes. Yes, I am very aware of all the things.
Touches the beacon.
A new hand touched the beacon indeed. I know I added that specifically for you. I can't remember when I did, but I know I did that. I know I did. Now where I waited. I was dealing with messages. I was dealing with all the messages. I have my phone on Do Not Disturb when I'm streaming, and I'm not looking at the notifications. I was getting rid of all the notifications. Also, I do not have a notification directly from you. The last thing I have from you is me sending you a video this morning. Yeah, I'm gonna have to move that up. That's gonna be a later project thing. We'll do more of that later. I have ideas set out. I am happy with that thought. I'm gonna do little arches. I'm happy with that thought. We're gonna move on from said thought. Because I want to extend out the tower. Actually, this is gonna go hand in hand with me having to move this up. Because I want to extend from the tower from like right here up into this area. I'm gonna move you off to the side temporarily because I have no idea where this is gonna be now. What level? We're at this level. If I move this up, this door up to be level with that. Hi. How are you? How are you? Yeah, this is part of the reason why I need to change it. I need a block they can fall through, but they can't start jumping out of. Is there a block like that? Do we have a block that you can fall through, but you can't jump out of? Well, there is, of course, slime and such, but they can't get damaged on that. I'm lagging. Great. Because that slime would keep them stuck. The slime and honey block. But that's a keep down, not a go through but stay down. I don't think there is a go through but stay down. Is go through but stay down? Pressure plate? Can go through but stay down? Yes? Can? Can? Can is? Does the thing I want? Does is? Does is. Take? Does is? Can't. Won't let. I'm not allowed. What? Can is? Can. Either thought. Can is? No. Cannot. Cannot. What can? What can? Snow? Snow go through, but not? What can go through, but not? That'd be a visual thing, not an actual thing, though. The snow is a visual one. It's a good trap. Same thing with the moss carpet and normal carpet. Unmute, not the normal. Unmute. Less word work better for brain when brain working too fast for word to handle. This is how brain think fast. But still stutter. This is how brain think fast, talk fast, get idea out, get thought out. No edit required. It is draft. But draft, rough draft of thought. What go through but not? What can go through but not? redstone, but difficult. No space for that. Where? Thank you, Nightbot. I don't think there is. I don't think there is a block like that. Damn. The only thing I could possibly think of is replacing a few of those magma blocks with honey blocks. If I replace 4 of those, I assume blocks can still go through honey blocks, or items can still go through honey blocks. So we're gonna have to watch and see. That's not what I was trying to do. I'm gonna have to do that, because that's the only way I'm gonna be able to do this. Because these are very, very annoying. Just gonna have to get rid of these. That's the only way we're doing this. This is the only way I'm gonna get this done. Give. Thank you. Place back. Oh, you suck. You suck. Thank you. Move all the things around. But. Place that back. Take this. Get out of here. Thank you. Okay, we'll see if that works. Who knows? I want to make some villagers down here. Have this be the start of the trading hall until I'm done with the castle or have enough done to move in villagers. So people can come by with their horses and just drop them off at the stable, hang out for a second, do what they need to do, and take off. That is the thought process here. And depending on how I make this, I could have room... Because I don't have to directly have the stables go into this place, especially if I have a door through the tower. So I have some leeway here. If I do this and then have an entrance up into the place, have a little landing and then it goes up. Something like that. Something itty bitty witty like that. Itty bitty pretty one. Bobby Day anyone? Give all block. I don't want to remove everything going on here. Not until I know what I'm doing here. I'm probably gonna remove a fair amount now that I say that. And I do have my hammer. I'm currently using my pickaxe to fine-tune this. We can get the most out of what we're doing. Get the most out of it. Change to stone. Up. Yeah, that actually works perfectly because I need that column there. Or actually, no, I don't want that column. I don't want that there. So I'm probably gonna do a dual... I want a dual wall here anyway, so I could do the exterior later. I'm gonna place it temporarily, so I remember that. I'll have to do a little bit of exterior specifically right here just because of that then, but this is what it is. And place back torch. Torch, go right there. Now, what do? What do is question. Lag is what do. Very much so. But I'm having this as floor. I'm probably gonna want this... You know, we'll keep it 3 tall. 3 tall actually feels kind of good. I want this at least out another 2-ish. Do I like 4 out? Or I kind of want to continue. I've been doing columns a lot. But but I really like the motif of it. So go out another one right here. Oop. I'm a big fan of it. Columns just help create a nice consistency with the build. Actually, it occurred to me I'd even need to remove any of that. And I don't need to remove that. All the dirt, that does not need to be there. I still need to actually do netherite. I need to go get netherite, but I also need a frickin' XP farm. So I gotta do all the things, so I can do this thing, so I can do that thing. It's a fun time that everyone so much enjoys. Brains say I gotta lag first. And then I gotta do this thing so I can do that thing, so I can get this thing done, so I can go get that thing done. Which we love to do so much. If I'm doing this, then I want to just do a single little thing there instead, so that matches up a little bit better. Just perhaps. Yeah, not really if you have to get another right. Not really XP farm, or... If I don't really need XP farm if I get netherite, you underestimate how much I use my tools. And how many times I've already had to repair them. Happy birthday! Thank you, Fred! Thank you, Carry On! Thank you. Welcome to stream. I'm playing out. I miscount. Oh, no. You need TNT, and I hate looking for that, because you need to get netherite, unless it's all different from that. You don't need TNT for netherite. It's a way to go mining, but it's not necessary. There's also bed mining, or just traditional pickaxe. And we have the hammers, which kind of... you don't need the... you don't need beds if you... or TNT if you have the hammers, because you can literally just go down one row. Happy birthday again, you. Now I had to head off to bed. Alright, bye-bye. How long are you gonna be on there? I'm planning on being on for at least another hour or two. We're just hanging out and I build. I plan out ideas. I'm immediately thinking for this, I want to do a standalone kind of building off to the side, like a proper stable you'd expect. Or like a farmhand house, is what I'm thinking of. I want to do rafters in this place. So I think we will actually excavate this all the way to the sky. Because I do want to plan out more of this. I haven't been doing exteriors, but the interior of this place is the exterior. I'm doing some Blender work, was gonna hop on if you want some company. Hell yeah. I love ya. I'd love to have ya. There we go. Words, incorrect. Not good. Brain, too many thought. Boink. Boink. Pop, pop, pop. Vibe hangout. I am in the live VC if you want to just do that as well. On the Discord. Yep. Thank you. So I turned off all of my Minecraft settings so I could. If people just want to stop on by. Bonk, bonk, bonk. Yep. Freudian slip. Taking a break, saving, and hopping in. Alrighty. I mean, I do love all my friends. That's usually taken in a different context. I'm very queer. I realize, I'm not sure if it's my upbringing or just the fact of I'm a very queer platonic person. I love the hell out of all my friends. And I don't got a whole lot of shame around that. I'm usually careful about it with new people until I'm like, okay, yeah, I can just casually say love you to you. Cool, we're good. I have Blender, just very bad at using it. I know I've opened it once and I was looking in. I can't remember. Oh, this was a really long time ago. I was trying to make. Hi, Carry On. I was trying to make a VTuber model for Mew at some point, or like a 3D one in Blender. If you're talking, your mic is not working. By the way, Carry On. Where is Dakota? Bonk.
Hello?
Hello! Hi.
Sorry about that. I was plugging in my mic.
You good? Where's grass? Grass. Down here.
Birthday once again.
Thank you! This will be crazy week. It's gonna be interesting. Boop.
Good crazy though?
Yes. Have friend over, long distance friend hang out for a week. Oh, most of the week. And considering my birthday's tomorrow, which is also Mother's Day, there's that on top of it. So my mom gets lunch and I get dinner.
Mother's Day.
Huh?
I was confused about it. I remember you telling me about that the last time we hung out.
Yeah.
I was confused on why it was a birthday stream. I thought that was
I'm just doing it the day before, so I'm not dealing with it tomorrow. Because I will not have time to stream tomorrow.
It's a very fair thing.
It's gonna be 21st, so I don't know if I want to stream after that. I don't know if I want to do that. It's gonna be an interesting birthday. The honey blocks don't even work. Damn it.
I'm swearing on this Christian server.
What can I do to fix you? Iron Golem?
Also, I feel you on the. I do the same thing. I'll hop into my friend's streams and be like, "Uni, I fucking love you," and then leave.
Nice.
I understand that. I understand the platonic love.
Platonic love is very underrated. It needs to be just emphasized a lot more.
I agree.
Oh, you two. You are annoying golems. I can't change. Oh, I can't change it because that's. Y'all suck. A lot.
And remove and add some stuff because I haven't done the update since.
Uh-oh. I just realized what Pumpkin was trying to do earlier. They played the, like, Merida's beacon. A new hand touches the beacon. And they sent it on the account that I currently have open on my desktop, so it didn't send me the message on my phone when I checked on my phone. Because he told me to check messages. I'm like, okay, let me check messages. And it did not, in fact, send it to me, because I technically had it open.
She's so lucky she has a cool sword. I would never do a damn thing for that woman.
Oh no. How rafter? This rafter. Not does what do.
We gotta grab cicada. What the hell is whoa?
I don't know. One of our mods requires whoa lib. For some reason that's a tongue twister for me. But one of them requires it, so I don't know. I couldn't tell you.
Okay. Fair.
I learned this after I was trying to start up the server and it's like, hey, you still need a mod. I'm like, what? Okay, at least you're telling me what mod I need, but damn.
Did anything else need to get updated, or is it just adding those?
It's just that. We're gonna do a proper overhaul, update everything on the 16th.
Yeah, that was
Brain.
okay. This is the day before the event. Okay.
Yeah. And throw away all this.
I'm sure I still have iron, but I don't play enough.
Yeah.
That's
where?
me.
Boop. And this one, boop. Oh, you haven't seen my library in person yet, then?
No, I have not. Oh my god. Look at your stream right now.
Yeah, it's a library. What did you think I was calling it? It's my library.
It's a good thing my character lore is no longer a librarian, or I'd be put to shame right now.
Also, it's a fantastic storage solution because chests are considered block entities and they can lag out the server. His area is so big and massive. Yeah. Big boy base. This is only the basement, so yeah, big boy base.
Big boy.
I think I'm fine with it that size. We'll do a doorway here, have a bunch of villagers there. That should be all good. And then we'll do tiny stables adjacent, just off center, right here. So you can see a bunch of horses when you come on in.
Horses.
Yeah. So I have a shit ton of horses, and I do plan on, like, slowly training them up, since I'm on so much. Training up a bunch of horses to max, and then selling them. Me and, who else was online? Mew. That was also surprised and shocked about how storage you have. It was Xperia. And also, for some reason, everybody thinks my red sheep is insane, and I don't know why. Because it's just red sheep. I just have a pen of red sheep. I don't know what's so interesting about that. Because it's not even nefarious, like, oh, I have a pen of red sheep, there's nothing interesting going on here. No, I literally just need red carpet. I need red carpet. I want red couches. That's it. I want my red curtains. What else to do here? I need to lower all this. And we should be about good for this area. Oh, you all the way out there, damn.
Yeah, oh yeah, I forgot. I left myself in a bit of a predicament. Oh yeah.
Oh, it reminds me, like, I think at the beginning of the server, I logged onto my Skyrim save for some inspiration right before I moved to this place that I'm staying at now. And I apparently left my legendary survival save in the middle of a battle with a Draugr Deathlord. I'm like,
Oh.
fuck.
That was a great idea. I think that was
No,
fantastic.
no, it was not. Thankfully, I'm like level 60 or something. I can't even remember. It's not level 60. I might be level 60. I don't remember. I know I'm decently high level, but because it's legendary, I still hit like a wet paper towel.
Speaking of Skyrim, I actually was just looking at this, but did you know that there's like a multiplayer roleplay server of Skyrim?
Yes, and the only reason I am aware of it is because I watched a long documentary about Mayik the Liar. And he does have a version of himself in the Skyrim, the Elder Scrolls Online. Because he's been around since Morrowind, I think?
Are you referring to Elder Scrolls Online?
Yeah.
I'm not referring to Elder Scrolls Online. I'm talking about literal Skyrim. It's just actual Skyrim.
Oh, geez. I was not aware of this, no.
Yeah, no, I know Mayik is pretty much he was in Oblivion, wasn't he? Which also makes no sense. That man's old. No, it's just literal Skyrim.
Supposedly, it's not actually Mayik. It's like his grandfather or something, and they're always called Mayik, the next in line. There's like some tidbit of info about it in one of the games.
Beautiful. Fucking beautiful.
I think Oblivion mentions it, because he's back again, and people are like, is he immortal? No, it's just a long lineage of fucking liars.
He's very quiet, and death cannot find him.
My yeek will lie one day, and his last lie will be in a coffin.
That was really profound.
I like wordplay.
Did you make that up?
Yes, I'm a big fan of wordplay.
Good, actually.
I absolutely adore wordplay. Wordplay jokes are my favorite thing ever. It's like when you're camping, it's like, oh, this is getting intense. Nothing for that one.
No, I laughed. Did you not hear me?
It was so high. It did not pick up on mic. It was dead silence.
You made me choke.
Yeah, I absolutely adore wordplay. It is my favorite kind of pun. Hug, thank you, Wolfie. Thank you for the hug.
Is Wolfie in?
In the Twitch chat.
Hello, Wolfie.
I gotta head off now. Good night and have an amazing rest of your birthday. Thank you. Have a good night. I'm slightly miffed. I have new glasses showing up, and I ordered them online, and they're literally like an hour away from me at some distribution center. I was so hoping they could show up today, but no, they didn't. They've been at that distribution center since 2 a.m.
Oh, I hate that. I hate that.
So I guess I'm just getting them Monday then, unless for some reason it ends up not going through local mail and instead a local like general mail. I don't know words correct. General shipping instead of the actual mail carrier. Usually it's just mail carrier, but you never know. I can hope.
Aryan mail?
Here we go. What mail?
Carrion mail?
Carrion mail. Nice. The best thing I got with my name is maybe musician, and that's about it.
That's pretty good, though.
We meant to do this. I was supposed to do this last year. I forgot about it. With one of my older skins, with the older persona where it's a pink fucking blob, I did have like a little top hat and magician cape thing for Halloween. I need to make another skin like that for myself.
A pink blob was your old?
I used to be a pink fucking blob that was a mushroom. I don't fucking know. I don't know. I could not explain. I could not tell you. I am very glad to not be.
I was swearing on my Christian server.
On your server.
Yeah, of course. Obviously. Speaking of, do you have a thing? I don't have the money for it right now, but I know that it only occurred to me recently. I was like, it takes money to keep a server up. Do you have a thing for donations to help keep it up?
I do not technically have that. I mean, I have tipping for the streams. You can subscribe until I'm affiliate. I don't really have access to that, but you can subscribe. Or the Streamlabs tipping. This server, thankfully, is fairly cheap, all things considered. It's no more than, like, a music subscription.
Yeah, what do you run the server through?
We run through Logic servers, which is fairly cheap considering all other options. If we ran this on the typical, what's the name of that provider? Modrinth is like a huge sponsor for it. Not Modrinth hosting. What? It's not Modrinth hosting. What? So many mod providers. I think it is Bisect hosting, yeah. They even contacted me for the my mod pack amalgamation, like, hey, do you want to partner with us? I'm like, I don't think you're actually what I want to partner with, because that doesn't work for my mod pack at all, and you have no idea what you're trying to partner with right now, because that doesn't work in the slightest. And I already have a solution for multiplayer play that's free. It's called Essential.
I noticed a lot of I noticed a lot of what's the words? Stuff and things.
Ads.
A lot of mod packs had that.
Yeah. A little sponsor banner at the bottom.
Had the, yeah. It looked like they're giving it out like candy.
Pretty much, because Amalgamation is by far not a large mod pack. I think the most I've had is maybe 100 downloads on an older version? Something like that. It does tell me the download count, whereas... Load up mod pack files. The most, they even reached triple digits. The most downloads is 1.3.1 and it was 90. So it is by far not a large thing. But Bisect hosting, to host the server we have right now, would be like 20-25 bucks a month. I was paying $8, and now I'm paying 11 because we upgraded the server from 3 gigabytes to 4 gigabytes. And that's it.
I'm guessing there was a little bit of issues with people expanding out and all that jazz.
Yeah, and because we have a lot more players now.
Yeah. Understandable. Yeah, no, I just wanted to see whenever I wanted to ask because when I was free money wise, I wanted to be able to lend a hand.
Yeah, no worries. The server is fairly easy to run, thankfully.
Yeah.
Oh right, the double walls. I don't need double. How does one solve the thing I have done to myself?
You know, I didn't realize until after
Fake
I
wall.
away. But whenever you made the new, like, the updated pack, I just went ahead and used that entirely and realized that my waypoints are gone right now.
Well, that's not fun.
Well, yeah, I'm sure I'll find my way back.
I'm pretty sure if you go through files, if you still have the old mod packs you were using, I feel like there is a thing we can do. Folder. I feel like this is a thing.
Does it save it in a folder?
I'm pretty sure. Not Voxy, Journey Map.
Okay, wait, no.
My file explorer is not responding. Oh, there it goes.
It has the claimed land area, and Shadow did claim an area called Fox and the Bird, so I can find my way back. So
yeah, probably because it's global. Because I did manage to fix that setting, so everybody can make global claims.
Can someone make a giant fucking mansion over there?
Yeah?
Woodland Manors aren't that big, are they?
Yeah. They're pretty big boys.
Oh. They're not boys.
Because they do like a BOIS. They use like a 5, it's like a 7x7 or 9x9 scale for their rooms. It's pretty decent. Because I use like a 3x5, 3x3s or 5x5s. Well, technically it's 5x5s or 7x7s, but...
Well, you know what, Mio? You're decent.
Thank you. I try to be.
Don't even need to be.
I much prefer to be. I used to be an asshole.
I feel you.
I need puffs, that's what I need. And that's why I keep so many, like, guidelines, rules in place, and security measures in place for Passion SMP to make sure, hey, let's fucking communicate and figure shit out before it explodes. So I've had that happen in other servers where it's just small communication problems built up over time. AKA, I hosted one server before this, and I was not an adult hosting it. I was an older teen, and I was not in a good mental health state either. I was unmedicated ADHD and had no fucking clue.
Understandable. I've been there.
Yeah, it's fun. It's great. We'll do... Yay! You can actually go to my front door now! It's a miracle. Huzzah!
This guy is so big. There's a lot of cobblestone. What is going on there?
I'm going the wrong way. I need to go this way. And, nope. Nope. This one. Slowly getting used to the storage I have put myself through. This one. So this is the first time I've actually done storage like this, column-based and cabinet-based. So I've done a little bit, but usually I do hella compressed storage, not the aesthetical thing I've been doing this season. But it's absolutely fun to go all in on it. Usually I'm busting out a build and Axiom and then time-lapse and try and fill the rest of the time. But I don't need to be doing that. I can just enjoy building.
I found oh my, I'm gonna share my screen real quick. I want you to see what I just found.
Oh. What?
Just the amount of dog.
Oh no! I feel like a
So
couple
many
of packs that had spawned. Probably, that is not where... Oh, that. There we go. I feel like a couple packs had spawned and the leaders accidentally came together and it just started snowballing.
They began to believe.
Believe in the heart of the gods.
My grandfather's deck has no useless cards set out.
My local library is doing a media sale, and among the things I got, I found a card game called Man Bites Dog.
Man Bites Dog.
And it's literally just a headliners. You get handed a deck, like a little hand of cards, you have 5 or so. And from those cards, you have to make a headline. There are different point counts on these cards. And you have to somehow make a headline out of that. How am I? Okay, we're gonna do it this way. But. I'm also redoing path while I'm trying to talk. It's just not working out well. There we go, that'll do. But you're given, you have to make a headline out of those cards. You're allowed to discard a few and the dealer will give you some more. But you have to make a funny headline out of it, and if the majority of people you're playing with think it's not a funny headline, you gotta submit a new one and try and make a different one.
Okay, I thought this was going to be a cringe game, but it's actually sounding kind of fun.
Yeah.
It sounds like a more PG Cards Against Humanity.
Pretty much, yeah. Like, I threw down a couple wells, like, showing off to my family. Like, Psycho Killer, or Psychic Cop, something.
Psychic Cop.
Mob Boss Says Beauty. It's just a bunch of cards. It's definitely one of those games where it can be really shit if you're with a brand new group of people, but it might be a really good icebreaker as well. Or it'd be absolutely hilarious in a Discord call at 3 AM with your intimate group of friends.
This is true. I think that's kind of where it's at best.
Yeah. What does Brain think? What Brain do? Because this is the most I have genuinely thought through on this place. We just start extending out and trying to mismatch this, because I'm pretty sure I want to... Do I want to match this on both sides? Yeah, we can match it. We can match it. We can do that. Along to this spot, yes. But. Oh, I can see Obsidian down there. Oh, my doggy. Being very cute. How far out? What did I do? I don't need to place that there. I just want the outline to be the same. Give myself a little bit of a shell challenge. 5, and then a 6 block for wall. 5, 6 block for wall. How far out that way?
For this? Oh my god.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Yeah, the cores are annoying.
Just a little bit.
5,
Are they
6,
worth
7,
it though?
8, 9, 10. I would say the Destructor Hammer is definitely worth it if you plan on doing a lot of excavation, or if you want it in order to get netherite. Because getting a destructor hammer, as long as you're not making a netherite destructor hammer, because that is a shit ton of netherite, I can tell you off the top of my head, in total, it takes 120 to make.
Oh
I may or may not have
my
done it 3 times. Or not 120, it's 100 to 120 debris is what it takes. Because it's 108 for the actual hammer itself, and then you need 3 more ingots in order to make the core for it. But if you're making a diamond hammer in order to get netherite, that is fairly useful. However, I will tell you that the netherite destructor hammer does have 32k durability. The diamond hammer only has 26.
How much does a regular hammer even have, though? Or a regular pickaxe have in comparison?
A regular netherite hammer that isn't an upgraded one at all is 5,000.
What's that regular?
And a pickaxe is... Why can't I see? Do I not have tooltips on? There we go. Regular diamond pickaxe that I have in my hand right now is 1,500. And a diamond hammer is 4,000.
Okay.
To be fair, the destructor hammers do mine a 5x5x5 area.
Yeah.
So they are pretty great. It's just, do you want to make that investment? Is the only question. I feel it would definitely be worth it if you're doing like a forever world. SMPs, I hesitate to say if it is. I have done it. I did it last season. It was very helpful for me because I had an underground base. But outside of that usage, I don't think a netherite one's worth it. I literally did name that hammer worth it, by the way.
Planning on an underground base.
Then yeah, it'd be extremely helpful.
There goes my sanity.
Do we have... I'd strongly recommend once we get elytras then, specifically go out and loot structures for it. I can't tell you if we have the repurposed structures, so there are structures that can offer you netherite. I know for a fact the Nether Ancient City will give you netherite. I don't know about the Nether... Or not the Nether City gives you netherite. I know that for a fact. It's a decent amount of netherite, as well as gold. It will give you plenty of gold. It does have blazes and wither skeletons. The wither skeletons have bows. I will warn you that. The Nether Ancient City, I couldn't tell you if it has debris or not.
You can't use a blast furnace on stone?
Did we not fix that? We added mods that are supposed to fix that.
I was using cobblestone, which still sucks, but let me see about the stone, the smooth stone real quick.
We have blasting smelts glass. Smelt.
Nope. It does not work. But that's fine.
Damn.
That's fine. It's not the worst thing in the world.
No, we had it last season, but a lot of mods are different between the versions. We upgraded to a more recent version.
Yeah.
It was just unfortunate.
It is, but it happens. It happens.
You know, I'm gonna start planning this out proper. Make a tall mofo. I'm gonna have a 7 tall ceiling. Make this a grand frickin' castle.
7 minutes is all I can spare.
Sound. No, that's a bad joke. I am not saying that.
What were you gonna say?
My brain immediately just went connect the dots and went 7. Sounds like 7 minutes in heaven. Make joke. I'm like, wait, no. Filter? Is there a filter anywhere?
Are you asking me to go into 7 minutes in heaven on your birthday?
No. No, that is not what I'm saying. I'm making a joke.
Wildly innocent. I'm kidding.
No.
I told you I have to mess with you a little bit. It is your birthday.
Fair enough.
Close enough.
In 3 hours.
Close enough.
That's close enough. And about into fried rice.
I love me some.
Hi, Dika. Thank you. I'm gonna have an interesting time with my segmented rooms here.
I do love how with Minecraft adding the spear, we have proper dual wielding now. A spear is a great offhand weapon. At the same time, though, you can't use it with a shield, and I think that's hilarious since it's the best thing historically that you could use in your offhand with a spear.
Yeah. It's just a wee bit silly.
It's a little silly, but I'm okay with it. We like a little silly every now and again.
And I'm out of stone. Lovely. I go grab more. Bonk.
Where?
I grab more from my storage. Thankfully, I didn't give Misty and Airy all of my stone. Just most of it.
Oh, is Missy and Airy making bases together? Or
Yes, they have a giant sky island. There are naturally generated sky islands out west. There's a few of them. And they have a couple out there, but there's a huge space between them, so they're making a giant sky island in the middle of it by hand. Oh shoot, my phone is at 2%. I have to pop on back home after I get home. Alright. Thank you for stopping by. How do rest of thing? I'm definitely gonna have to move that iron farm, I think. I'm gonna have to plan for that. Probably just recycle whatever. I'm pretty sure I still have... Do I? I might have the world that I made it in. Otherwise, I could probably steal the design and then turn it into a schematic from there.
The world.
Last season, I had a quadruple iron farm.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a very lovely design, and it worked underground. I had it completely underground, and the iron golems would come up through a bubble column. And it did absolutely fantastically. The only problem it had at all was the iron golems would get stuck when they were spawning, and they would die inside the chamber at times, which I don't have a solution for still, but because I had 4 of them, that was extremely... It was a negligible flaw with it. The current farm I have, it works, but my problem is the collection system right now because I don't want to do a lava collection because that could just burn down my base. I do have plenty of wood here despite it mostly being made of brick. So there are problems regardless.
Problem. What is a problem, really? A miserable pile of secrets.
My brain immediately also made a connection again. I have... Was that a book I got, or do I own that book? Do I? Do I? Is that a book I own? Book I own.
Or I'll have to go get a book.
Oh, I know what brain thinks. Okay. I know what brain was thinking. Okay, it's not the title of a book, but it is part of a book that I own. I have a book by Mark Manson called The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck. It is a absolutely goddamn hilarious read, and I love it. And one of the... It's great. It's a fantastic read. It is so... It's filled with humor from cover to cover. And I can't remember if it's specifically a chapter title or if it's part of a chapter, but there is a subject matter of happiness is a problem. And that sounds horrible on the surface, but happiness is having a problem that you're willing to have. Because yeah, the server annoys the hell out of me at times, and it is definitely fucking annoying when Flashback's being a bitch, because I accidentally have one mod that I was supposed to get rid of, and I didn't notice. But that is problems I'm willing to have, and it makes me happy doing this line of work. If you don't have any problems, you're just kind of bored out of your mind. So what problems are you willing to have to be happy? Is generally the subject matter. Up, 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 up. It's such a good read, though. You can read about the misadventures of Disappointment Panda.
Disappointment Panda?
Yeah. I've mentioned this so much, I have it the start of it memorized. And it's, if I could make a useless superhero, it would be Disappointment Panda, and he goes door to door telling you hard truths you need to hear. Like, yeah, you're making good money, but it's not gonna make your kids love you. And then he waddles on to the next house. And Disappointment Panda comes back later, too. The authors were, like, remarking on his own life. And he's talking about, oh yeah, I'm sitting with Disappointment Panda with some margaritas, and he's telling me this hard truth I need to hear. It's so good. I love it so much. I found the mofo purely on accident. I'm never looking back. How am I gonna do this? That's a good question.
I forgot, how much obsidian is it for a enchanting table?
4. I'm pretty sure. I think. That sounds right.
But we have the thing. We have the thing right here. What am I saying? Why am I asking you? Why am I bothering you?
I don't know, sharing information?
True.
Double wall. Double wall will save me. Double wall saves me from all my failures.
Triple wall.
I have done triple walls in my base, unfortunately.
That sounds like a pain. Why would you do that to yourself?
Because I didn't align rooms correctly. And I had to restructure my entire library 3 separate times.
Was it in this server or a different one?
This one, this week. I moved the balcony 3 different times. And I am not proud of either any specific time. Originally it was just, oh, I don't like how this looks, let me add, because originally the platforms I have that the balcony are made of, it was just exposed, so I'm like, okay, I'm already doing some slabs around it, let me do a line of slabs on the outside, which made me move the staircase, which then made me move the... words. Which then made me move the front balcony, because I have a curve at the front, and that needed to be completely readjusted, otherwise it didn't look right, because it didn't look like a curve no more, it looked like a weird stick out. And then I needed to... I expanded the rest of the library, and I actually dug out all the space that I needed, and realized, shit, the pillars I want, I need a 5x5 for this, I'm currently doing a 3x3, so I need to restructure everything else. And move everything to forward, and I was looking around and realizing, this don't look right no more. I now need to move the balcony down 1 block, which will also make me move the entirety of the floor I literally just placed, also down 1 block. So those were my adventures this week. On top of having a giant headache, because Gardener's Delight isn't direct on how in the world you actually use Gardener's Delight.
Oh.
They have like these hanging pots are from the... I just fell. The hanging pots are from Beautify, but we also have Gardener's Delight, which makes some more use out of the normal pots the game already has, and you can make half pots out of cauldrons and several other things I can't remember off the top of my head, like composters, barrels. And you can put stuff in these, and it also offers alternate skins, textures, for a bunch of the like pre-existing pots in the game. But it doesn't tell you how to specifically do it. And I was having so much trouble with the half pots, and it was telling me, this is not a suitable soil block, fuck you! And no matter what I could do to try and get it to work, it wouldn't work. And I was trying a bunch of different things, and I could finally get some sweet berries on a moss block, so I'm like, okay, do they need specific blocks? And in my testing, it seemed like, yeah, that was the correct answer. But then I was going around, I was trying to do other stuff, and I was placing it in different spots, and the half plots were no longer working like they had in my testing, and I wasn't working again. And I'm like, okay, screw this, I'm not gonna do a half pot. It's what I want, but I'm not gonna do it, whatever. And so I moved on with my life. Until I started, like, doing some ferns and pots, and I was doing the method of Gardener's Delight, because I wanted the Gardener's Delight texture for it. Because the biome I'm in makes the ferns kind of look like shit when they're in a pot. They're like a sickly pale green instead of the nice, like, floral, or not floral, like the literal fern green that they are. And so I was trying to figure that out, and it wasn't quite working, I couldn't quite get it to work, and I had been crouched, and it was trying to place the leaves I was holding in the pot. I'm like, wait, does Gardener's Delight literally just function off of crouching and looking at the pot, and then it places... Yes, it does. And suddenly, all the half pots worked just fine, and there was nothing anywhere that said this is how it worked. Not a single place mentioned it.
I'd be frustrated too.
Yeah, because I was losing my goddamn marbles over this. And then also when I was placing my books, I kept accidentally unwaxing my damn copper stairs. It's like, I don't have time for this. I need to get this video done today. I don't have time. There's no time for any of this. I need to go and get done so I can stream, so I can go to bed, so I can deal with tomorrow. I need to do all the things, so I can do the things, so I can do this thing, so I can do that thing, so I can carry on and do this thing.
I'm right here, though.
I was waiting. I was waiting. It's like, is there gonna be a joke? There better be a joke.
You're damn right there's gonna be a joke. Yeah. I'm gonna go with yeah. Yeah.
Whole bunch of yeah.
What are you yelling?
Something like this. Room measurements, things. Grand Hall? I don't know what we're building here. It's gonna be something. I'm thinking like probably a drawing room. That sounds about right. So I don't feel like this is an appropriate spot for a large dining hall. It feels like a drawing room kind of place. I do want a pretty kitchen somehow, somewhere. Specific thought for the kitchen. How does one get that kitchen in the way that I want it to be? That way. Literally right here. Mums. Nums. Nums. My brain has left the country. I left the country a really long time ago. It even stopped sending me postcards.
To be fair, I'd leave this country too.
Fair.
No further.
We're gonna do... Absolutely. I would, but I love my town too much. I need to think of dimensions and how thing do what I want do. I need, if I want counter, if I want island here and room space around, I need one bigger. Yes. At least. One bigger that way, probably longer this way. Which lets me connect this way for dining room. Yes, okay. Or live room? Dining room, live room. That live room, that kitchen, that dining room? No? Yeah, I like. Okay. Less word, faster thought. No need speak. Up. 5. Do this, right here. And to this. Yeah, and then I need 3 for that, so this. Fantastic. Sometimes no need talk for brain work. That's how do. Yes.
It's okay.
And then copy, match. Fantastic. And then boom. Fantastic. Big dime room, but how accomplish? How do that thing? Or big, no, that dine room, this live room. This how do?
Guys, I think Mew's broken.
I've been broken a long time, man. I've been broken. I've been broken way too long.
Broken.
Brain is... Kitsugi? Is that what called? Kisugi? What called?
Huh?
What called art? What is called? Gold paint. Ceramic. What called? Kitsugi? Kintsugi. Yeah. It's when they take broken pottery and fill in the gaps with a gold liqueur. It's old Japanese art.
Huh. I'm surprised I haven't heard of that.
It's really beautiful.
I was gonna say, we love gold on everything.
Yeah. It's just, I think it's along the lines to show it's broken but healed. Don't quote me on that, though.
You know what's crazy? I wish I knew that. I don't know how much you've seen of my Sona, but they have a blue scar and they have a gold lining as like stitching around their body. That would have been a perfect reference to have made, and I didn't know about it. I will now.
Now you know.
I will know. And now I will just say that was the idea all along.
If it works, it works.
No one will know. And if you tell anyone, well, you know what? You won't get a chance. Don't worry.
Nice. Oh. Yeah, sure.
Now,
Maybe.
however, here's a sad thing. I hope you didn't enjoy my company too much because I am sadly waning in these next few minutes, and I will probably be heading out anytime now.
Alrighty, no worries.
Yeah, I'd hang out more, but I had a 9-hour shift that I wasn't expecting to have today.
Oh no.
It was supposed to be like a 4-hour shift.
Yeesh. I wish you the best.
Thank you. Sorry. Hope I didn't invade too much.
No, you good. This is literally the exact reason I'm sitting in the live VC at all.
Yeah, but you could have had someone cool, like, Misty. Instead, you got a bird.
Birds are cool.
Birds are cool.
One of my favorite animals is a bird. I fucking love crows.
Crows are pretty great.
Crows, oarfish, and scaly snails, because of course those 3 fit together. Why wouldn't they?
What was the last one?
Scaly foot snails.
Scaly foot snails.
They are deep-sea thermal snails that plate their shells in iron. And they live in, like, lava vents. In the Indian Ocean, I think?
Huh. Oh, these things!
They're-
I have seen these.
Yeah, they're fucking dope. They're great. I'm lagging very bad. Oh, there we go. Oh! That zombie has speed.
They look like lava.
Yeah, they're so fucking cool. I love them. They're endangered because of deep sea mining, but they're so cool.
They're so cool. I'm surprised these things would be endangered by anything. They look like they can survive.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they inspired a Pokemon as well.
Magmar, or not Magmar.
Yeah, it is Magmar.
Little, yeah, Magmar and Slugma.
I think so, yeah.
You're.
Alright, have a good day.
You do too, and happy birthday and happy Mother's Day.
Thank you. Have a good day. And it is just me in stream yet again. How does do thing? I can get away with this as this wall, so we're gonna do this. Or wait, I can get away with both of these as this wall because I have a column here. Technically, that's an empty spot I could probably make. I can't really make it. I can make slight use of that. So we're gonna get rid of that. I can make use of both of these, actually. Hold on. I can do a cove bed right here. That's what I could do. That'd be fucking adorable. We're gonna do that. I'm gonna extend this out like this. I need to have that there. Then, if I'm doing that, let's do this so it doesn't look so awkward that I have done that. And then the bed isn't directly across from the door. We love a little feng shui. What can I get away with? I can get away with going all the way out to here without ruining anything else. Beautiful. This is a tiny, tiny room. It is a 3x3. So I'm gonna have to have... how do I want to use that? You know what I should do instead? What we're gonna do instead? Because I'm not even connecting this. This is just a dead-end hallway otherwise. We're gonna stop right here. And I think once I run out of steam on this, then we'll call it a day, which may or may not be soon here. Yeah, that's a bigger room. I can work with that more. I'm thinking in order to not have no difficulties with other rooms here, because I'm probably going to want those to also be pillared rooms. We're going to do this, which also adds a little interest to this room. It adds a little something something. It adds something, that's for certain. Because of this, I feel like I could get away with also doing maybe a nooked bookshelf in this spot. Corners, corners, corners. All the corners. This is an empty corner, but that's fine. There's gonna be a couple empty corners here and there that I'm gonna have zero use for. Because this is guaranteed to be an empty corner as well. So I need to at least cover up this much. That is the bare necessity. Bareness. I cannot get that as an earworm. I've had too many earworms lately. I cannot have that on the list. There are too many. Too much. Not good. And I'm out of stone. I'm gonna grab, say, 5 more stacks of stone. And then when I'm done with that, we can call it a night. How? You stupid guy. How? You are on nothing. That you can't land on this. My depth perception is horrible, but I'm pretty sure there's a clear line right there saying you can't land on that. So how are you in midair? What are you on? So let's turn on it. What could you possibly be standing on? Let's confirm. Is it it is these. How is it these? How is it these? You suck. So much. So they are landing on these, but I don't know. This is the thing stopping them from escaping, so I don't want to completely remove it. Do I need to place it on this side instead? Do I need to go back to this? Because I thought this was what was making it bad, but maybe this is what make good? No, stay in there. You stay in there. I'm gonna go back to what it was before. I had a little railing. I had a slightly different thing going on. Hitbox hidden. It was ever so slightly different. We're gonna remove that because we don't need that anymore, and we're gonna place one of them with this rail instead of a balcony rail. I think it's just called balcony. I think it is. Not sure. While we're down here, because I'm not gonna need to come back out here. While we're down here, I'm gonna grab the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stacks of stone. So I did get rid of all the pressure plates at some point because I was tired of having to consider them while I was building. They're just kind of getting annoying for me. Right, you suck. You're annoying. And while there's nobody here, I'm gonna fix the magma blocks as well, which is all the way upstairs on the other side. It's all the way over here and around the corner. Don't get caught on my own stupid cobwebs. What? I had them in my frickin' backpack. That's how it be sometimes. That's how it be. That's how it do. At least I have so many doors around the place I can kind of go wherever and still get to where I need. I'm not even sure if there is a best way to go about this place. And then we do boop and boop. Maybe then not get stuck? Maybe? Who know? We'll never know. Never know. That's what no. Never. I am clearly losing my mind. I have lost my mind all week. And I've probably been losing it longer than that. We need to go around this way, up this way, around that, to this, to that. I think if I'm gonna do a staircase, it's gonna be in this main hallway. That's what I'm immediately gonna say right here. But do a staircase, it's gotta be in here. And I'd probably do it something like this so it's anchored on the pillars. Perfect. I'm probably gonna need to move this about a little bit when I do build it, but this is what I want from this. And then it will be a double staircase, so I'm just gonna 4, 5. Yep. Yeah, I was doing this, so we'll... Yeah, this is what I'm doing. Probably doing it a really weird way compared to the way I did it the first time, but it's fine. My brain is copying instead of mirroring. There we go. Yeah, that's the look I want. The only problem herein lies... This will be the ceiling. This will actually be where the second floor will be. Because I know I do at least want to do a second floor. I don't know if we're going to do a third. If I do a third, it's going to be like an attic space, probably. I would love to... You know what? Yeah, we will do an attic space, because I love the idea of decorating one. Yeah, that's beautiful. It creates a tunnel effect for the doorway I'm going to put here. We're going to make that a 3 wide. And I want to be able to connect this to other rooms. So I feel like we're going to do something a little itty bit like this. And just have it be a big area to connect to everywhere else. Beautiful. Nice. And I'm already running out of steam. I'm trying to think. I do want to do more bedrooms like this. I feel like these are going to be kind of guest beds. Something to that extent. Or maybe these could be more like offices? I feel like these could be more office than guest bed. Probably like, oh, workrooms. These could be workrooms for the villagers. I do want to give them a library up here. I don't want them really roaming downstairs. I don't want to deal with that. I'm gonna have to find a way to... Actually, I know exactly a way to easily get the villagers from not being able to leave the castle and being able to stick around, hang out, while also making it very easy for players to get in and out. Villagers are perfect 2 blocks tall, while players are barely underneath 2 blocks. So if you place a trap door in front of them, they can't actually walk under it. And because I've been doing so many double walls everywhere, and I do pretty layered doors and such, it's very easy for me to hide trapdoors around the place. So that'll be a-okay to do. I'm gonna have to hide quite a few of them, but we can definitely do that. And I'm gonna have to make sure that the tower here is protected all the way. I'm starting to think I'm just gonna double wall this, and then we'll probably end off there. I did say I was gonna do all the way to here, but I also did say I was gonna stop when I ran out of steam. And I'd rather not push and force the ideas, and just let them come as I'm inspired to do them. How do I want to connect this? I'm thinking we just do something right here. My brain's loosely thinking of one of the one of the stereotypical Hitman locations. I'm gonna have to it's such a huge game. I'm gonna have to re-download it though. Because there's a location I'm thinking about that'd be really cool to go through. I'm tempted to do that as a stream. That might be a stream thing. What I want to do through here is a greenhouse and an apiary. I feel like that's going to be over here, which is perfect because it's not too far from my current apiary. Yeah, apiary, because aviary is birds. Apiary is bees. I want a greenhouse going out here. So let's like loosely structure that, perhaps. Because I don't have any particular huge grand ideas for greenhouse, I just want a greenhouse here. I know that much. And I'll have to flatten that out at some point. But oh, geez, hiccups. I think that's good enough for now. This is also empty space. Just mark out empty spots. There's a lot of them, unfortunately. Actually, because corner, I could actually get away with doing this, which gives me even more room and makes this less annoying. There we go. So, and it also gets rid of an empty spot. Lovely. So many empty corners that won't be used. And then 3 here for the moment. Until something else is figured out. 2 here. Something else is figured out. Actually, 1 here as well. Jeez. This is just a giant empty... I'm gonna make so many hideaways. There's gonna be so many little crawl spaces in this place. I need to make a bunch of secret rooms. A bunch of secret entrances and exits. That'd be so cool. I'm gonna do that. That's not going to be a stream thing, though. I'm going to do that on recording, and if you see me use it in a video, I'm going to do it off camera. If you see me use it in a video, no, you didn't. I'm just going to start randomly using them one day, just freak people out. It's like, oh yeah, I'm going to click lever, go through bookshelf, closes behind me, walk through wall, enter in a normal, enter in through a wall that no one knew was a freaking false wall. Is there a bookshelf door? Doors. I thought there's a bookshelf door. I might be thinking of a completely different mod pack. I'm thinking of a completely different mod pack. I'm probably thinking of Chipped from Amalgamation. But that'll be it. We're gonna end off right there. It actually ended up just being my normal stream time. It is later than I normally end, But it ended up being my normal stream end time because of dealing with it not wanting to record, or not wanting to start stream at all at the beginning. But that'll be it. Thank you all for joining me. I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.